I wanted to devote this first 6 minutes to something that's been interesting me and getting me to lose sleep. And no, it's not something that I'm losing sleep for because I'm anxious about it, but it's actually just a really incredible TV show written and produced by Netflix called House of Cards. It's sort of taken Washington D.C. by storm. It's a political thriller about the deputy whip in the House of Representatives. He's a congressman from South Carolina, played by Kevin Spacey, and his power couple wife, played by Robin Wright. She's the head of an environmental organization, and sort of the extremely cynical and deep Machiavellian machinations in Washington. And it's you can't stop watching it. In part, that's because Netflix doesn't let you, because they just start turning on the next episode the second you finish with the first one. But they released all 10 episodes in one shot, and it's a growing pattern of Netflix sort of creating their own content rather than just basically screening things from videos, or rather movies or TV shows that other people have created. It really is kind of the frontier of technology here. We saw them do it with the television series Lillehammer earlier this year, which is starring with Steven Van Zandt. It's about a mafioso who is in witness protection in Lillehammer, Norway. But House of Cards is a fascinating show, and I'll tell you why I like it and why I can't stop watching it is because unlike some other political shows, unlike some other political depictions of the world of politics in film, it's brutally cynical, and I think in many ways honest. The congressman is a Democrat, but by all appearances, he's not all that committed to any particular ideology. He's a power broker. He thinks that it will make for a more meaningful education reform bill, so he goes after the teachers' unions and goes after the rights for collective bargaining. And he even does things that we don't necessarily hear about until people are caught doing them, like sleeping with a journalist or giving away congressional secrets directly to a high-powered journalist to engineer media events. Really sort of, it kind of unmasks certain things. To me, another one of the interesting dynamics there is the internal fighting on the left and how that sometimes sabotages things. Obviously, I work in progressive advocacy during the week. That's been especially interesting. That is something that's very apparent to me, that when you don't have unity on something, let's say, like in the case of Social Security and Medicare, it's very easy for the right wing to move in and say, well, hey, some Democrats support it, or just tactically to draw people out. They depict that very, very effectively in this show. They see him challenging, they see Kevin Spacey challenging his own House leadership. You see unions sort of picking outside of environmental groups. That's a division within the left. You see sort of just Southern Democrats making coalitions with African-American Democrats against sort of Northeastern liberals. And I think it's a show that has legs, and it'll give a much more real depiction of what goes on in Washington, D.C. I've been disappointed in some other political TV shows in the past. One that I think of that is sort of really, that literally tracks day-to-day events that occurred in real life, but only 2 years later, is The Newsroom on HBO. I find it cheesy to a fault. Totally, like, there's no character development. I mean, it's just totally ridiculous. I'm very happy. I think that it's a really exciting development. Schuster, did you get a chance to see it at all?
I have seen some of the reviews for it, and I've read reviews, actually, the British novel in which it's based. I think this was originally from the BBC, and then we sort of adapted it for the United States Congress. But look, I think, we see in politics every day people who get bypassed for a particular position, who decide to exact their revenge on people who did them in, and that seems to be the thrust of this, and it's fascinating. And I'll be watching simply because of your review.
Well, there you have it, David. Some honeymoon watching for after you get married.
Exactly.
We're talking to Charlie Mitchell coming up next, and we're going to pause just a few seconds as our syndicated stations join us. We're welcoming them in Columbus, in Chicago, but for now you're listening to We Act Radio in Washington, D.C. This is Take Action News.